Hello, we're going to now do a small little task on the periodic table to give you an idea of how to recognize things on the periodic table and also how to have an idea of what's inside the atoms. So we'll start off with me giving you a little time to familiarize yourself with the periodic table. Spend a few minutes to read through the things I'm going to look at today. Elements that are the first 20 elements. So that means that you'll be able to look at things like this: hydrogen, go across to helium, then go through the whole next line: lithium, beryllium, take yourself to boron, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine and neon. Go to the next line: sodium, magnesium, aluminium, silicon, phosphorus, sulfur, chlorine, argon. And then finally potassium and calcium. Now there are more elements, but we're just going to concentrate today on those first 20. So spend a few minutes just familiarising yourself with the names so that they'll kind of be floating around in your head, and then you can continue on in a minute. So press pause and then restart when you're ready. Thank you. Okay, so we're back here now. For doing this particular exercise, I'm assuming you've got your periodic table in front of you. The first thing I'm going to do is to just write a series of things down, and I want you to be able to tell me whether or not those particular things are on the periodic table in the first 20 elements. So let me write down a list, and then you go and have a little hunt, almost a bit like a treasure hunt. So let's go on. Here are some items that I'm going to write down. Start off with rust. Oops. Start off with alcohol. Sulfur, chlorine, sand, silicon, hydrogen, protein, and carbon. You might like to put a tick next to the things that you find. I'll give you a little bit of time to have a little check. I'll assume now that you're done with your search. Let's go and tick some things off. Well, try as you might, I can't see rust anywhere. So rust is a big no, that's not on there. I can see aluminium on there. I can't see anything else starting with, there's argon, but there's no alcohol. So alcohol's a big no. What about the next one? Sulfur. Sulfur is a big yes. Sulfur you should see is the 16th element. We'll give that a tick. Chlorine is next door. Chlorine is the 17th element. Sand. Sand, no, I can't see sand, but I can see silicon. Hydrogen is the first element on the periodic table, right in the top left-hand corner, number 1. Protein isn't on there. There's a P for phosphorus, but there's no protein. And finally, carbon. Carbon is the 6th element on the periodic table. Now what's interesting is that things like rust and alcohol and proteins are actually made up of elements. So for instance, protein, there's a lot of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen and nitrogen in proteins, with a little bit of phosphorus and sulfur thrown in. So that's what proteins are made up of. But there's no protein on the periodic table because protein isn't an element. Now, so that we don't have to keep on writing the names down, we're then going to start writing the symbols. So I'll just go and put in brackets next to it the symbols. So for instance, sulfur is capital S. Chlorine, you'll notice is capital C and then a little L. So it's always a little letter if it's part of the same symbol. Sand isn't an element, don't worry. Silicon is capital S, little I. So always the second letter is a little letter. Hydrogen, just a capital H, no second letter. And carbon, capital C, no second letter. So they're the symbols, and symbols are much more convenient to write down. Next door, we're now going to draw ourselves, in fact we might do it on a new page, so just bear with me please. We're now going to draw ourselves a little table of the elements so we can start working out how many protons, neutrons and electrons they've got in them. In other words, what's inside the atom. So we'll start off by, let me go and grab this, and I think we'll draw ourselves a table like this. So we'll start off this way in our table. Excuse the not so nice lines, I'm sure there's a nicer way of doing this. And we'll start off with popping in the name of the element. Then we'll pop in the symbol. Next along, what we call the Z, which is that top number. And that's what we call the atomic number. Next we have the A, which is the mass of it, the bottom number, and then we will do the number of protons, neutrons, and finally, if I can just fit it in the right hand side, electrons. Whoops, I clicked on something I wasn't intending to. Electrons. Looks like we've changed colours. I'll go back to the other colour. Okay, so we start off our very first element. Very first element is hydrogen. So write in the name hydrogen. Symbol is H. The Z is the top number. The top number is number 1. The A is the bottom number. Now this is our little trick. What do we see in our bottom number? We actually see 1.008. So we'll round it to the nearest whole number, which is a 1. The number of protons is always the same as the Z, because that is basically the number of protons. Always the same as that top number, always the same as the atomic number. The number of electrons is always the same, that becomes a 1. And then the protons and the neutrons are the parts of the atom that contribute to the weight. The electrons don't really have any mass at all. They're very, very light compared with the protons and the neutrons. If we know the weight's 1 and there's 1 proton, then there can't be anything else contributing to the weight. The number of neutrons is 0. Go to our next element. Can you find it? See whether you can find it and beat me to it. Helium. Symbol H, little e. This time, our Z, our top number, is 2, and our A, which is the bottom number, is 4.002602. If I round that to the nearest whole number, that's a 4. That means the number of protons has to be a 2, because it's the same as the Z. Number of electrons has to be a 2, leaving our little gap. Now we know the weight is the protons and the neutrons, so if there's 2 protons and the weight's 4, then there've got to be 2 neutrons to make up that total of 4. Let's go to the third element, lithium. Li. Okay. Z, see if you can find it before me, 3. The A, the mass or the weight, is 6.94, which is fairly close to 7. what am I going to do next? I'm going to work out the number of protons. Same as the Z, because that's what the Z is, 3. Number of electrons, always the same as the number of protons. When the atom's by itself, 3. If its weight's 7 and the weight is the protons and the neutrons, that means there's got to be 4 neutrons to make up the 3 and the 4 together to make up the 7. I'm going to now give you some space to go and work out a few more yourself. See if I can create some extra room here and write small. And you're now going to spend some time doing this yourself. So, beryllium's our next one. See whether you can work it out. Then we go to boron, carbon, nitrogen, and then the gas that we all need to breathe in to live, oxygen. Off you go, press pause. When you're done, then you can go and check your answers. Time to check your answers. I'll just go and pop in Be for beryllium, boron, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen. We'll go 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That also means that the number of protons will go 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. As will the number of electrons, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The A's, let's go and have a look at the A's for beryllium. It's 9.01, which is a 9. For boron, it's 10.81, which is closer to 11. Carbon is 12.011, which is close to 14.007, close, whoops, sorry, my apologies. 12, close to 14. 16 is the last one. So to make up my weight of 9 of 4 protons means I've got 5 neutrons. 11 is 6, 12 is 6, 14 is 7, 16 is 8. There we go. All done. Now if you like and you want to test yourself further, have a go at doing the remainder up to calcium, which is the 20th element. We'll now go and work out how to actually draw 1 or 2 and actually sketch out a rough diagram. We're back now. Let's do some drawing. Let's start off with our first element, hydrogen. I'll draw a little box so we know that everything to do with hydrogen will be in this box. So this is hydrogen. Write an H for hydrogen so we know what we're sketching. The protons and the neutrons go in what we call the nucleus, which is the middle of the atom. We've worked out that there's only a proton there. So I'll put a little plus for the proton, and around the outside there's an electron. And I'll put a little minus for the electron. There's no neutrons at all. Let's go into our next element, helium. Helium, we've worked out, go and look at your table, it's got 2 protons. Got a couple of neutrons, and it's got a couple of electrons. We'll draw the electrons way out there, they go way outside. If we like, what would be nice is we've now got more than one thing. We can put a whole nice little circle. I might do this in blue just to look slightly different. Put a whole nice little circle around this to show that all of these are in the nucleus and the electrons are scattered on the outside. Let's continue on. Draw a few more. Do lithium. Lithium has got 3 protons, stick 3 pluses in the middle. It's got 4 neutrons, 1, 2, 3, 4. It should really be the same size. I've run a little bit of space. That's the centre of our atom. And then around the outside are the 3 electrons. 1, 2, 3. Notice how the number of protons is the same as the number of neutrons. Sorry, number of electrons. Scrap that last comment. Number of protons is the same as the number of electrons. I'll do you one more, which is beryllium, and then you can go and do the rest yourself. Beryllium has got 4 protons. 1, 2, 3, 3, 4. It's got 5 neutrons. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's go and draw that up to form a nice nucleus, and therefore number of electrons is the same as the number of protons, so let's stick 4 electrons scattered around the place. Not 5, 4. There we go. See if you can now do the other one. See if you can have a go at doing boron. Draw yourself a little one for boron. Draw yourself a one for carbon, nitrogen and oxygen. If you're feeling really into it, then go all of the way from fluorine all of the way on to the 20th element. It's as easy as that. Might be a good idea to also write yourself a little key that the plus means the proton. This is the neutron. Oops. It's behaving. And finally, so we don't forget the one with the minus symbol in, is the electron. Responsible for making atoms feel like they've got lots of things inside them. In fact, atoms are mainly empty space, but it's the electromagnetic force on the protons and the electrons that are making the atom feel really, really solid. Okay, that's all there is to it. Have a practice and see how you go. And thanks for watching.